All right, I hope you guys are doing well. I was going to review the independent dependent variable worksheet with you, but I'll just check it over. I'll give you a grade for it, and I'll just make comments if, maybe you had one wrong or missed one or something like that. So I'll check over that, give you a grade for it. I was going to put up a bell ringer just to review what an independent dependent variable was and a confounding variable, but I'm going to just push that off, and I'll just give you an extra point or whatever next week for the bell ringers. Okay. And I just want to move on today with a little bit of information so we can just keep moving with the course and make sure that we have chapter 2 going, and I could finish it up in a reasonable amount of time. Just crazy right now with these days off here. All right, so real quick, I just want to review with you dependent variable, independent variable. All right, so independent variable, the IV, we know that as a stimulus or a cause. All right, that is something that the experimenter is changing. All right, that is something that the experimenter is altering to see a response, to see the dependent variable be present. Okay, so the independent variable, we talked about it in Rosa's experiment, Emily Rosa's experiment with, just if she's going to be hovering over the left or right hand. Okay, that's something that she's changing constantly. Right, she's going to do that in order to get a different response. Okay. And with Funk's experiment, the independent variable is whether or not von Osten is present for clever Hans to see. Okay. And whether or not, let's say they put blinders on. Okay. Or they just ask a math problem that von Osten might not know the answer to. All right. Dependent variable we know as a response or the effect. Okay. So that's just a measured outcome, something that is being recorded. That is something that is information that is a response to the independent variable. All right, so a confounding variable is something that could skew your data. This is a variable that is unwanted, that might have an influence on your results or your data that maybe you're not looking for, okay? That when you're performing an experiment with your independent variable and you're getting your results obviously through your dependent variable, confounding variable might give a different response, something that is unwanted, something that you're not looking for. And I gave that example of the moth and the light. Okay, so let's say we are just seeing how bugs, a moth, right, is attracted to light. We might have a flashlight point at the ceiling, and that moth might go to it, whatever. Okay, but a confounding variable to that experiment is, let's say you just forgot to shut the blinds on the window. Okay, so that moth is going right towards the window rather than the light you have presented on the wall or, let's say, the ceiling. So that moth going towards the window, okay, all right, that would be a confounding variable, the light coming through the window, because it's like, oh man, I didn't think of that. It's skewing my data. It's causing my dependent variable to be altered. It's an unwanted influence. It's like, well, next time I run through the experiment, I know to put blinds on the window, make sure that the light's not coming through. All right, so validity is how we can just really refers to the measured appearance, the surface measure, what is supposed to be measured. Okay, this is something that it just shows and proves our experiment to be valid or not. Okay, this is something that we need to make sure that we, when we're running through the experiment, we have some sort of validity to it. Okay, that we can maybe push away any type of bias information or any type of confounding variables, or to prove that we are following the scientific method and making sure our experiment is run ethically. Okay. All right, so Rosa and Hans, we talked about it already. Dependent variable, she recorded whether or not the therapeutic touch practitioner said left or right. And for Funk's dependent variable, it was hoof tapping. So response to each question. All right, number 4. So this is the step-by-step process we talked about. So number 1 was hypothesis. 2 was controlled test. All right, 3 is just with our variables. Okay, how we are, how we are seeing our experiment play out. And then 4 is analyzing results. Obviously, with Emily Rosa, she's going to go through her results, through her data, and prove whether or not her hypothesis is correct. So seeing if these therapeutic touch practitioners are better than 50% correct with their responses. All right, so here we go. So an experiment, the analysis was pretty clear. By design, there was 50% chance practitioner could guess correctly, and she tried to disprove it, right? So we all know left or right, okay, there's a 50-50 shot that these therapeutic touch practitioners are going to be right with it, are going to be correct with it. And in her case, obviously, it didn't play out that way. All right, well, it worked for her hypothesis, but it didn't play out for the therapeutic touch practitioners. They could not answer it correctly more than 50%. So or to 50%. All right, so she concluded that therapeutic practitioners could not detect the human energy field. All right, they don't have some sort of hidden power or using cosmic energy. I think that's what they described in the video to relieve stress and relieve unwanted energy from people's bodies. But hey, if they have some sort of condition, some sort of disease that can't be solved or helped out at the current time with medicine and different types of therapy, then you know what? If it's something that makes them feel like they're getting better, if it's something that they're doing that just puts hope and opportunity or optimism in that person's mindset, then hey, good. All right, so Funks, for Hans, the chance to level is simple. Guessing the correct response was near zero. So obviously, once you remove Von Austin and you get rid of that conditioning, that stimulus that was being presented to clever Hans by Von Austin by tipping his hat or moving his eyebrows or moving his, moving his face in some sort of way, like his facial features, then obviously clever Hans couldn't answer the question right. So there you go, proven it worked. All right, so, but the hypothesis was rejected. However, Hans was unable to correctly answer the questions in the absence of his owner. So we all know that couldn't work. So 5, publicizing, criticizing, replicating the results. So before you can prove it, before you can publish and conclude that your experiment is proven and that it works, you need to replicate the study. You need to go through it once again to make sure that there was no confounding variables, to make sure that, maybe under some sort of conditions or the environment that's presented to it doesn't play I guess you could say, a key role in how this might create bias within your experiment. You need to replicate it. You need to try to go through it again. And that's one of the, I guess you could say, downfalls with many of these people that are performing these experiments. It's, time expensive to do the study all over again. Especially with money financially, to perform an experiment, depending on what it is at, obviously, to make sure that, we can't afford to run through the experiment again. So with psychology especially, that's why you see a lot of these experimentees, these experimenters, these people that are running and performing these tests, they work at colleges and universities or healthcare centers to make sure that they can afford these experiments. All right, and okay, that's really all I wanted to get to. Okay, because we're going to talk about the experimental controls a little bit more on Monday. I know you did that activity yesterday. I'm glad you is just kind of presenting that to you of what we're going to be talking about here soon, and going through a representative sample, going through a survey, and I'll have you create your own, things like that. All right, that's all I got for today. Hey, you guys take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the snow. Have fun. See you later.